Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Nerds of Legend. I'm Ben. Next to me is Joel. Melissa will be joining us shortly. That cute little bundle of joy in Joel's arms is Elizabeth. She's just hanging out. And then below me is
Bundle
Brendan.
joy.
Oh, well, maybe not joy. Maybe not joy.
Audible joy.
Well,
Vocal
she
joy.
got her vaccines today, so
Oh, so she's in grumpy pants.
yes. So part of her is happy, but her legs are not.
She's
Mom did pretty well with the shots, as far as mom can do with shots.
Yeah, but I just changed her diaper, so she's upset because her little legs got moved.
Yeah, she hates it.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, we're back. Thanks for bearing with us during our week off. And this week, we're going to be talking about the book Hounded by Kevin Hearne. This was Joel's pick, I believe. It's part
A
of the
random shot in the dark.
yeah, by the part of the Iron Druid Chronicles. I don't really have any housekeeping this at the start of this episode. So, Joel, since it was your pick, do you want to give a little plot synopsis here?
Absolutely. We follow a druid who's named as Atticus. And he is 2,100 years old, yet he looks 21 years old. He lives in...
Tempe, Arizona.
Not if you do it as like a rich... He did it as like a rich, like, trust fund kid. But yeah, he lives in Tempe, Arizona. And he is the only druid that is currently still alive.
Yep.
Practicing druid. And being a druid, he is kind of understated in what people think he's capable of. And the story, which we're going to discuss, so the details will come out a little bit more. In Tempe, he encounters a coven of witches, all Polish. He comes to blows with a god who has haunted him for 2,100 years and has very awkward interactions with the Celtic death goddess, the Morrigan.
Don't forget the goddess of the hunt, Flittish, as well as some werewolves, vampires.
Yeah, his lawyer is a werewolf in the daytime, and a vampire at night is a firm run by two supernatural creatures who are the werewolf and the vampire are both Nordic.
Yep.
And there's a running joke that everybody hates Thor.
Yep. It's like, all I know is everybody seems to hate Thor.
Yep.
Or no, they don't hate him. They just think he's a dick.
Yeah. And you don't find it out in this book, but you find out in the second book, which I am reading, that the reason why is because Thor is dumb and believes the prophecy of Ragnarok. And so, though there being many, many, many versions of Thor, the OG original Thor believes he is unable to be killed, and so therefore goes around bullying everybody because he thinks he can only die in Ragnarok.
Yep. Sounds about right.
But yeah, starting out, there's not a whole lot to the story. The plot of the story is rather cut and dry. For 2,000 years, Angus Lowe, the Celtic god of love, who's actually a manipulative dick, is upset with Atticus for taking a sword he believes to be his. The Morrigan, who hates Angus, decides she's going to keep Atticus alive because it's really cool that he keeps pissing off Angus.
Yep.
Long story short, a bunch of machinations come into it. They fight, and Atticus ends up killing Angus. And everybody's like, "Holy shit, he's really strong." That's the plot of the story in a nutshell. Now, the characters of the story are what really kind of drive the story. I am a particular fan with the way that Kevin Hearne paints his world. Particularly, I'm a really big fan of the widow O'Malley that lives next door.
The horny old Irish lady.
Yeah, that's like dirty old drunk who's just like super happy with the fact that Atticus is this chiseled looking Irish
talks
lad.
in Gaelic to her.
Yeah, and he'll talk Gaelic to her. He'll drink whiskey in the morning and won't judge that she goes to church a little mellow. Yeah, it's he paints the stories
and is
as
even willing to hide a body for Atticus in her backyard.
Yes.
You beheaded somebody? Oh, well, he was British. Oh, okay, I'll help.
Yeah.
It's like,
because her late husband was killed during the Troubles by the British.
Yeah, it's very interesting. How the world is very unique and very well painted. Like, there's a lot of people that are you going to be in this or?
No.
All right.
Bingley wants to
Hold
be
on.
in it.
Carry on. I need to remove a dog who thinks this is playtime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hearne lived in Arizona. He's very familiar with the ASU campus. He makes it very evident in the book. There's a lot of references to the surrounding area. He knows a lot of the landmarks.
Yeah, streets, locations.
Individual streets, locations. He talks as if he's had to deal with the co-eds on campus before. There's an intimate knowledge of the stupidity of stoner co-eds and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I almost wonder if he ran an occult bookshop off campus.
Yeah, I wonder. But
You're thinking he does. Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, it's not as on the nose as maybe like Ready Player One, where it's like, here's how much of a nerd I am. Here's all this nerd cred. You know, he's not that on the nose with being from Arizona, but it's very, very obvious that he knows the area intimately, and it lends credence. It lends a lot of authenticity. It reminds me of like a World of Darkness source book. Yeah, because like there's Vampire the Masquerade Chicago and that sort of thing. It felt like it reminded me a lot of the TV show Lost Girl. If you've ever watched that.
Lost Girl is such a good show. I kept trying to. That's exactly what I thought too.
It was
like, if they would have thrown a druid into Lost Girl, it would have made sense.
For those at home, if you've seen it or if you haven't, the show Lost Girl, kind of Buffy-esque, but more like adults. You know, they're not in high school or anything.
Lot more banging, and nobody made a sex robot.
Yeah, the protagonist is a succubus, so it's horny. It's hornier Buffy, if you can imagine.
There's not a lot of sex in it, but it is very horny. Like, there's a lot of mojo, libido flying around, as opposed to just going at it.
Yeah. I mean, that's her mojo is her libido. So
yeah.
But yeah, this book had a lot of similarities. It reminds me of like my D20 Modern campaigns in college. Magic is very pervasive in the modern world. It's just right under your nose. If you know where to look for it, you can find
subtle.
It. Oh yeah.
That was what I loved is with the druid, and like he was incredibly powerful, but the fact the kicker in this one that I thought was neat is a lot of these characters that are very magical, like usually have this like billowing aura, or like you can feel it as they walk in the room and all that shit, you know, like the waves of magical energy, you hear shit like that. This guy didn't. He would dump it all back in the earth and he would pick it back up. It was weird how often he kept getting his ass kicked. And I was thinking of the Dresden Files, which are just glorious. Mm-hmm. And it had a feel of like how Harry Dresden's constantly patching himself up, except instead of a spell or bandages, he's just stripping butt naked and laying in the dirt, which I thought was... He's like, I just read a part in one of the next books where he's like, and I got hurt again. I guess I'm sleeping in the rain naked in the backyard. And it's just...
If I had $1 for every time he's like, I threw my sandals off, it's like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Well, that's when it's like the freaking, you know, it's like the gloves coming off. You're like, all right, it's time to throw down.
Oh, the druid sandals are coming off.
Yeah. But I liked the part where he's the bindings of Angus Lowe on the when he tried to possess the police officers. Yeah. And instead of it being a big magical blowout, the lawyer's like, hold on. Arizona statute 1433B states, and he just like this setup for what could be like this epic blowout just turned out to be like this legalese battle, and then like, let's check out the tape.
And then Angus throws Angus Oak throws like a tantrum and shoots him.
Yep.
By proxy.
They had a very interesting
I think it's a very like. I think what I liked about it was like. I mean, this isn't the first time someone's been like, "Oh, the gods are around and stuff," and they're just like people or whatever. But I think, like American Gods did it, but I think, which I don't know if this is contemporary to or like post like Neil Gaiman writing American Gods.
Oh, it would have been post because I think it started in like 04.
2011 maybe.
Yeah, and what I like about it is like he didn't just do the same thing Neil Gaiman did. He like wrote his own sort of like thing, Like he didn't just retread the same ground that Gaiman did. He built his own world, similar sort of background, but he did it his own way. And I think me and Brendan were talking about this book the other day, and Brendan was like messaging me as he was listening to it, and I was like,
same audiobook. Yeah, we had the same audiobook.
I was like, don't worry. He's like, man, this guy's so cocky. He's annoying. Like everybody talks the same. And I was like, just wait, Brendan.
Just wait.
He gets some. He gets it back.
Yeah. We had the same audiobook, so I was sort of just like live reacting as I was listening to it. And I'm like, man, this Angus O guy, like they're saying all these gods are supremely powerful, emotional children. Why doesn't he just take over somebody with a gun? And then that happens. I'm like, why does he just send more people with more guns? It's like, well, that happens. And so it just sort of it followed a really logical path of like supernatural supreme beings
also
can get complacent.
To, like, keep it on the down low.
yeah, trying to keep it on the down low, maybe complacent or maybe ham-fisted because of their own self-inflated egos or what have you. But they learn and play catch-up, much like Atticus did. And there's a lot of very logical, very realistic, I guess if you can use that word, approaches to the confines of magical law that Hearne sets up. Yeah. Like, oh, bodies, well, we better cast a glamour. We better hide all this.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, better flip on my magic, ultraviolet specs and see through glamours, and better have some charms. These witches are shifty.
Leaf, call the ghouls again.
Yep, call the ghouls.
I do like the cleanup crew, the ghoul cleanup crew.
Yeah. It reminds me of a comic called Button Man, where it's British modern day gladiators in the 80s who are just like people out of work that fight each other, for money. And every time one of them dies, they just feed them to this one guy's pig farm, and it's like the biggest hogs you've ever seen because they just make a body disappear. Yeah. They make a body disappear in minutes, and it's like the ghouls, nothing left.
Yeah.
Well, so I was thinking about you, Ben, when I was listening to it, because a lot of it did seem, and granted, he is 21, 100 years old, whatever, but like a lot of it did seem very convenient and like very like, what I don't know what Mary stops that of Mary.
It's Larry Stew or Gary Stew.
Yeah.
Like, how did you feel about that?
So I was worried about it when I was first listening to the book. That was like sort of like the path that was going to get walked. But then as the book sort of progressed, it was like, no, like he didn't like, it wasn't like everything fell in his lap. He got his ass kicked multiple times. A lot. He got outsmarted multiple times. He recovered from it, but like, and also, his powers have limits, and a lot of like what I liked about it was like he wasn't just some like one man army. Like if he would have gone in there like Gary Stew and one man armied it, like he would have gotten killed. But he was like, because he'd fostered relationships, with the werewolf pack, with this other witch, with this, with Flittish, with the Morrigan,
who turned out to be kind of like hedging her bets. Like, the guys were shit.
Yeah,
and every one of them was crooked as hell.
Well, that was the whole point. They're fey. Like, they're tricky. Like they all kind of like basically were like I can't actively come out and help you, but I can maybe do a thing to tip the scales a little bit for you, but I can't openly do anything. But so like that's like I was very worried, Missy, that it was going to turn into that, but because he like kept, like he was getting help from people and he recognizes that and he like knows the limits of his powers. He doesn't like, there's no like all of a sudden MacGuffin that makes him like unstoppable or whatever. Like when he negotiated for Granuel to he was actually she's bound to this. She's the vessel of this witch, and who's very powerful. And he kept saying to her, "She's like, I want to be your student." And he's like, "Druids kind of suck, you should be a witch. Witches could do all kinds of shit." And he's like, "Yeah, but." And he had like all of these like things. It was like, if she says this, then she's out. And then she said the opposite. He's like, fuck. And then she's like, if she says this question, then she's out. And then she's like, the opposite. He's like, fuck. You can tell this character. What I do like is it makes it sound like he kind of like swung his dick around for like the first 500 to 1,000 years of his life. Like just being like, nothing could hurt me. And then he just got owned, it sounded like. And then he sounded like he started getting screwed over left, right, and center and became the most paranoid person ever. Like he is scared. He is paranoid of everything. I don't know of a person who like ties his blood down and his hair and everything he does because witches.
I think that's very common in like some of these types of stories because it's a magical thing. Yeah. Right. Like your
the blood magic and stuff like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he does sleep with a lot of the Fae gods that just come in and they're like, we're doing it. And he's like, all right.
All right.
Speaking to your point that like initial concern with Atticus being Gary Stu, his weakness for women is a huge fault.
Yeah.
Like when Flig shows up to his house for the first time, he's basically like
boner.
Yeah, you're having a smoothie. I know that you're a goddess of the hunt. Other than that, you asked about the sword that like I was attacked over earlier that day. Yeah, sure. Why don't we just bang and then we can talk about it? And it's like
I looked through. So I have the first 3, and I was trying to remember what made me stop the series, and I think that was it. Like it was just like. He thought too much with his dick, and it irritated me to the point where I was like, I'm over it. Like
I disagree. I think Brendan, because I'm reading the second book right now. I think Brendan is going to really love the parts because when he thinks with his dick and he starts getting distracted, he starts quoting baseball stats. So I think that's really just going to hook you in even more.
For some reason,
you're gonna be like, this horny. Oh, that was a good lineup in 1972
For some reason, Atticus loves baseball. I don't know why, but he fell in love with baseball, much like his dog loves Genghis Khan
and Star Wars.
And Star Wars.
We haven't even talked about fucking
the dog,
Oberon yet.
Oberon, Ben's clear favorite charter.
Oberon was great.
Oberon, I love all of the Shakespeare references. Like Oberon is obviously from Midsummer Night's. There's a lot of Hamlet.
Yeah.
But, like there's a lot of like things that are fun, and if you know like Shakespeare or if you know like history or legends or things like that, there's a lot like peppered in there that make it fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Oberon was amazing, and he's such a
Atticus.
Like.
You owe me so many French poodles after this.
There's only 6.
There's only
5.
Only 5. Yeah, it was 5.
It's a real strength of the author, Hearne. It's really difficult to write intelligence or wisdom because you need to be, approximately that same level. And how do you sufficiently simulate somebody being super old, millennia old?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of pop culture references and a lot of trivia. Hearne drops a ton of little nuggets of things that Atticus has learned, in the centuries he's been alive.
Yeah.
There's Battlestar Galactica in there. There's Star Wars.
Like apparently, I'm a Cylon.
There's a lot of like
ended a relationship. They were talking about it in bed, and the girl's like, "You're like a Cylon," and
pillow
like,
talk. Yeah,
I'm out. Like,
the thing that was really cool is Atticus respects all other faiths, and the book also hints that they're all real.
Yeah.
So,
and it does not take any preferential. One thing I do like is it's not like, yeah, I'm a druid. That's the true faith. You all should be druids. At no point does it take this like holier than thou preachy way of doing it. And I haven't seen a lot of other books that do that. I know Jim Butcher is good for that, for being like, yeah, they're real too. But it's just not my thing. Like Atticus did the same type of thing. Kevin Hearne did a very good job in representing them all kind of like in an equal footing. Like, yeah, everything else is real, but this is the group we're talking about right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Atticus definitely does not have. I mean, he's cocky, but he doesn't have nearly as much of an ego as the gods do that he deals with every day. I will say, because of the nature of the Irish pantheon being hair trigger, superpowered, emotional children, he ends up having to explain every pithy pop culture reference he uses immediately after using it.
Yeah.
So he'll say something. Yeah, he'll do
what?
Yeah, and he'll have to be like, "Well, it means this," and.
Well, it's funny because the first time he used a Shakespeare quote on Flittish, she was like, "The fuck are you talking about?" And then the next time he sees her, she's like, "Oh, you're quoting Shakespeare at me again?"
Yeah. So like initially you're kind of, I mean, if you're a dork and this is the Nerds of Legend podcast, so I'm gonna assume here, viewers, but if
dork leanings,
right, yeah, if you're dork adjacent, a lot of stuff that Atticus will explain, you'll know already, and you're like, yeah, I know that's a Shakespeare quote. Yeah, I get it. That's Battlestar Galactica. So initially, I'm kind of like,
big leap to assume that dorks know Shakespeare and Battlestar Galactica.
Well, I mean, we have a strong lineup.
Joel,
I don't know shit about Battlestar
but Joel,
Galactica.
we are nerds of legend.
We are nerds of legend.
You at least know what a Cylon is.
Yeah, I do that.
There. All right. Yeah. See, we cover all the bases. It's kind of like a trivia team of basement aligned, virgin activities. So
the basement dwelling geeks.
This is my basement.
I think we're all sitting in a
We're
basement.
all in the basement right now. We're all in the basement right now. But so initially I'm kind of like, oh man, he's explaining a lot to a lot of people. But that's what catches up to Atticus is he's like, oh, these guys are pretty dumb, and then they start picking up on things. And he very quickly has to realize he's not the only one that's made adjustments, which I thought was a really cool, an observation as the book goes on. I had my initial.
So I was like, you kept like being like, God, this fucking sucks. Like this is annoying. Like why are the gods being so stupid? I was like, Brendan, just wait.
Just pump the brakes, buddy. Pump the brakes.
Yeah, well, because a lot of the guys, it was funny. Like the gods that spent a little bit more time interacting.
Yeah.
Picked up more things. And then at the very end of the book, again, spoiler, but we told you there's going to be, what kills Angus Og is the fact he was a legendary swordsman in one particular style, a Celtic style of swordplay. And he just kind of sat back and was like, I'm the greatest swordsman ever, completely forgetting that there's other pantheons out there. And Atticus was able to...
Yeah, Atticus had been trained in like basically every sword style ever.
and routinely practiced while Angus Og was sitting back there being like, in Tir na Nog being like, look, I'm great. Aren't I great? I sure am great.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it shows more like how much they got out to get to know things would be how much they were able to adapt. The ones that like to sit and hide back in Tir na Nog and talk about how great they were still stuck in the Iron Age.
Well, it's like the Bronze Age for them, but yeah. It's like Flittish. It's like the first time she'd ever like left Europe or Ireland or whatever. So she didn't even know about like the rant, like she's like, why would I want to hunt a sheep?
She was super put out by that. Like,
and then like Atticus
assuming
was like,
they're all
like, well, this is a bighorn sheep. It's like this is a whole different animal hunting. And she's like, oh.
To her, sheep were all small and domesticated, and
right.
It's a recurring theme in a lot of these style stories that everything's bigger in America.
Yeah.
Well, that's because it was written most by an American, and hubris is our thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's lonely up at the top. That sort of speaking of U.S. That sort of mentality, right?
Yeah.
Atticus.
And as long as we don't ask anybody else in the world about it, we're right.
Yeah.
What?
Just like the Tuatha De Danann. As long as we don't ask anybody, we're right.
That's a soccer jersey, right?
Yeah.
No, he works at KFC.
Yes.
We talked about that.
I work at KFC. No,
Yeah.
this is the 1994 home jersey for the U.S. team.
Yeah, well, the World Cup, we won. We won today's game.
I wasn't going to spoiler alert if people are coming home from work or whatever. I know it's pretty, but yes, we did win. I am wearing this.
Everyone got phone alerts. That's not a spoiler.
I can say that with the size of our podcast right now, we probably ruined nobody's day with that announcement. So just say it right now. I doubt there's thousands of people being like, "Fuck you, Brendan Mertens." You son of a bitch."
I mean, they're saying that for different reasons, Joel.
Yeah, they are.
Whenever we're not on the air, I'm the only one that brings up sports, at least amongst us. So I know I'm not
I
spoiling
like how
anything
you
for
say
you
it
guys.
like on the air. That's all we do is talk about sports. Like, no, you are the only one that brings up sports. Fucking.
I know. I try so hard, and you guys
We're
are like,
talking about Tolkien, and you're like, "That's great." Have you ever heard about the Oakland Raiders?
At least,
fuck yourself.
I at least.
Al
do
Davis, just win.
I did it today. You're welcome.
Thank
What
you.
did-
High five through the phone.
Missy, what did you think of this book?
It had a male protagonist. I hate it.
I thought it was cute.
There wasn't enough sheathing. No.
Yeah. Nobody licked anything.
It was more like, well, you're like covered in blood. We're at a battlefield. Better bang. Like,
Who banged? The Morgan got.
wanted
She's
to.
a death.
She
god.
wanted to.
I know.
I like all that killing. I'll suck your dick later. That's what
We'll
it was.
see. The old Irish widow was like the only non-hot woman I can remember in the book.
I really expected her to be like, well, since I'm younger than you.
No, remember he was like viscerally opposed to that like blonde Barbie witch. So
Emily.
yeah, Emily.
He describes Emily very acutely though, so he
Yeah.
was looking. He was looking.
Yeah.
Anyways.
That's fair.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought the story was full disclosure, probably
She hated
a
it.
decade
She
ago,
told me it was gonna
maybe
suck.
more. I read them,
Yeah.
at least 3 of them, and so I liked it. It was in the beginning kind of the same as you guys. A little bit annoyed that everything felt very like contrived, like very like.
Yeah, first chapter he kicks the shit out of a bunch of like elves or whatever.
To be fair, you think you've been doing this for 2,100 years. Like,
But
you
compare-
probably are pretty good at it.
But compare yourself to literally like the Fae god, right?
But these
Like-
weren't Fae gods. These are just regular Fae, which are born and they die and all that other stuff. Like, he's older than just, in the book, he's older than just about everybody but the Fae gods.
Yeah.
He even ran across other gods that he's like, yeah, shut up, kid. Like, I'm older than you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but he's still human.
Yeah,
right? Like,
and he
so
was
there-
still
there's-
annoyingly like
there's
good
that,
at what he
like,
did.
There's that thing that you expect them to be something, right? And so like part of it just feels a little bit too like coincidental that he can do it. But again, he is 2,100 years old. He's been practicing this. There's a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
Like that medallion that
Where he talks-
shields him took him
Yeah.
750 years. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, that's the other thing is like he's not some like cocky Gary Stu. Like when an actual god shows up, he's like, "Yes, sir. No, sir."
yeah.
It's like,
Except for Briss, he killed the shit out of that guy.
well, yeah, because Briss was trying to be a little cheeky bitch and tried to
He punked him.
tried to pull an assassination move on him.
He
I love-
spanked that dude.
I love the over the top armor that he was wearing, and then when Brienne
Did
is
you
like,
find out that she was like, yeah, he asked me for some armor that was immune to Fragarath, so I just gave him some gaudy shit that looked stupid.
I think maybe like
I
maybe
love
I've
Brienne.
spent-
Brienne
yeah.
is cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I've spent so much time like with like in the YA or
Yeah.
like NA adjacent world where everyone's just kind of bumbling that I didn't know what to do with someone who like
Was competent.
yeah.
Yeah.
But he makes up for it in like he kind of has a little bit of that Harry Dresden type feel, you know, where
Yeah.
he's got a lot of juice,
Yeah.
but everybody around him's trying to fuck him up, so he's kind of like
An ass.
super paranoid,
Yeah.
cynical ass, you know.
Yeah.
But
But he's still like
even though
then,
even the werewolf's like, you're a little bit paranoid there. He's like, just wait.
am I?
And he's
but
like,
that he's paranoid, but then something pretty walks by. He's like, oh, look,
He's like, that needs penis.
Ooh.
Away!
Oh, look at that hot piece of ass.
Yeah. He is very...
That's the book. Let's be fair.
Could you have done a little bit of like meditation and gotten that libido in check, or?
Yeah. Every bodily fluid he's worried about except semen, he will spray that to the winds.
Well, he's probably got the semen bound to himself too. So.
Huh?
he said he's probably got the semen bound to himself too, so that even when he comes, he's like firing blanks.
It's like the binding he has to frag around where it can only go 5 feet from him. So he's just got this mobile pool of jizz following him.
Nope.
Oh my gosh.
Nope. I have something even better. I learned about it on Love Is Blind.
Oh, good.
Oh, Colleen is watching that show. Colleen has watched every episode. She watched the English and the Japanese one. She's just going all out.
Awesome.
And we have dipped to a new low. We're sorry, ladies and gentlemen, for the 5 people that watch. We're sorry. We have moved into reality TV. We are all equally paid.
All right. So what is it, Missy? What does Love Is Blind have to say about this semen subject?
That you can transcend a physical orgasm.
Fuck me.
I don't think that's what's going on here.
That one guy, so there's this guy, he goes on, this wall date with this other girl on the other side of the wall, and he tells her basically he wants to learn how to O-face without doing anything.
He wants to be able to just stand there and jizz, except
tantric bullshit.
Yes.
I want to come without coming.
He wants to bone like Sting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, now I have a headache thinking about it. So
I think I have a migraine. Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Love is blood. This is one of the sacrifices you make in marriage. You love your wife, and you're like, she's a wonderful human being, and then you look at the TV, and you're like, these are the trials they talked about.
See what I do, Joel.
No, I will ask because it's like a train wreck. You're like, oh my God, what train hit that car? That's what you see when you watch these people. Who is that crazy person over there doing crazy things?
I'll be playing.
Then you feel guilt.
I'll be playing Deep Rock Galactic with Ben. You're like, oh, I found some gold, and then the TV right next to me. You're like, after he was decapitated, his wife took every body part and put them in a tarp underneath the barn. I'm like, what on earth is Colleen watching?
Yeah, same, literally. Like
my wife's upstairs doing the same thing.
I will watch. I have forged things that I know will one day be the ending of me. I'm pretty sure I have forged the weapon of my own demise at some point in time.
It's going to be a stabbing because I do all the cooking. I do all the cooking. She's probably going to shank me. Maybe put arsenic in tea, something like that. But kitchen's my domain. So maybe the tool shed. Maybe we should get the weed whacker. Come at me with that.
All in all, I feel like back to the actual book now. Not talking about how our wives are going to kill us. That'll be a different podcast. We'll be called Former Nerds.
It's true crime featuring Brendan's corpse.
Yeah.
That's just like one day Nerds of Legend logs on and it's just Mary, Missy.
Colleen, and Missy being like, I don't know how he fell on that 3100 guy. But
Colleen and Missy
true crime.
Colleen and Missy just replace us forever, and we never show up on the show again.
Never again. They're just like, everybody's like, wow, it's so much better now. I don't know. We're not getting rid of those 3 morons.
They don't talk about sports anymore. Thank God. It's Nerds of Legend.
Yeah. They're like, thank God it's just true crime girl stuff. Anyways, what I liked about this. This was a shot in the dark pick for me. Mm-hmm. Like I literally was like, I didn't want to pick something I've already read. I like this because we experienced something new. You guys will give me something, I'll read it, I'll hate it or love it, or sometimes passionately hate it, get angry. But this is a pick, and I was really worried the majority of this book.
I know.
For 2 reasons. One, I typed in urban fantasy. I like urban fantasy because I like the idea of like shit happening now as opposed to like 10 million years ago in a fantasy world where everybody had magic. I like the idea of being able to go to like a wizard shop that I don't know about. They sell pizza and like other shit.
Yeah.
I like the idea of it. That's why Harry Potter was cool, but Harry Potter's for 12-year-olds. And so I picked it, but 90% of the selections were like, she finds herself alone in a world where surrounded by lust and you're like, oh God, everything's fucking an urban.
The book covers all look like this.
Yeah, I was really hoping. I was trying to find something that wasn't just like somebody walks in and is seduced by some creature of the underworld with a 14-inch pecker and just bangs her all day long. I didn't want that. So I was like really nervous. You know, the druid, I was like, please don't be just a smut fest.
Well, didn't you say you got worried? Didn't you say you got worried when you found out that Missy had already read this book?
That was the fucking part. Missy's like, I read it. And I was like, fuck. Missy read it. It's going to be just all banging. I'm going to read 372 pages of licking and sheathing and just Faye being like, I'm not meant for you. But I want to be with you. Hold on a minute. And then they go for it. And then it's back to it. And she's like, I'm 19. We've got so much in common. He's like, I remember the Big Bang. Let's go at it.
Just for that.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, but not the beginning ones. It's going to be in the middle when it's just a gang.
Just a gangbang? Awesome. That's great. We're just going to get right up to just watching Penthouse. We're just going to watch Spice Channel, and that's it. Now back on Nerds of Legend. We're watching. You can get it still on a fucking key. Don't pretend like Xfinity doesn't have the Spice Channel. It's there right now. You can watch Gangbangs 39. Hot Moms Get Back Door 22.
Joel.
I have a lot of
the future's now, man. Don't pay for it.
I know. What? Just say it. You're right. I've aged myself. I apologize.
Who pays for this anymore?
It's not worth it. Don't download and save porn. It's not worth it. Stream it for free like a normal person.
Thank you.
Right? You don't need to know about that. I'm glad you're sleeping. So, yeah, no. But then I read it. Then she's like, I didn't really care for it. And I was like, ray of hope.
Yeah,
but it wasn't bad. I did expect at some point it to like devolve into some like
I could tell Brendan was like getting. So it seems like you kind of flipped your opinion from the last time we talked, Brendan, because yesterday at like you were like listening to it and you were about like 3-4 hours in and you're like, what the fuck?
I'll say this. I had to separate the fact that there's a difference between presentation, plot, story structure, character development. There's a difference between quality and preference. And I just made the realization
more sheathing.
There wasn't enough sheathing. No.
Brendan doesn't even know what that joke is from.
It's from Akatar.
Don't worry, we can read that one.
Yeah, you can go back.
You guys can fill me in at a later date.
Watch the episode of the Court and Story.
There it is. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of Casablanca or like some pulp novel, you know, like, oh, she walked in, her nails were green and her face was hot, and oh man, I want to bang her. And we did that
that's what Sam Spade does.
We did it 300 years ago, you know, with on the magic plains of Spain. You know, it was just like there was a lot of it was first person. It was told. It reminded me of a film noir voiceover, like the international version of Blade Runner,
that
right?
Would have been great.
He had an eternal. Yeah. He had an eternal dialogue going. The presentation style to me was a little grating because it's very pithy. It's very mouthy. The way everybody talks like a Joss Whedon screenplay. It's everyone's got a cute little response and a little joke, and it's an eminently funny book. It's a very, very funny book, but everyone's got their little, comebacks and zingers. And I was just kind of like, all right, I'm used to reading like Camus and reading like Hemingway, like the Iceberg Theory, where like,
there's no relationship.
You sprinkle
like racially
what was that?
Space captains.
All right, I read that when I was 12.
And I did like racist.
Yeah, I was like, you're the one that like gave us pulp sci-fi. Like,
no, but I get it. Like, it's very like in that. Like, like for me, it's the relationship that drives it, right? So I didn't have any connections. He didn't have any.
Yeah.
Like, and so it was very like.
And I
thought that was what was interesting about this book was like, he started it with like the only connections he had to people were business connections.
And Oberon. Oberon.
Like, so like I think until like Oberon was introduced, like Atticus was a fairly like not likable character until you realize that there was actually one person that he cared about, at least. But then
Oberon, since he's clearly your absolute favorite.
That is the only right answer
Yeah.
to the best character in this book.
Oh yeah,
Oberon, let's see, Werewolf and Vampire Attorneys at Law are up there. You know, they're up there. Crazy Old Irish Lady, top tier.
Crazy Old Irish Lady, I liked her quite a bit.
Yeah.
Irish bartender with two people in her head. She was pretty solid.
She was kind of like not like Oberon though. Oberon like.
Yeah. So I think
Oberon's up here.
I think basically like the moment where like Atticus became like a likable character when he's like was when you realize, oh, he has a person he has a person he cares about. In this case, it's a dog, still a person because he's capable of speech.
Well, the dog for a dog is like super old.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a wolfhound. They live like 6 or 7 years, and this was like 15. So
yeah, so you have this instance where, and that's the moment where I think that was the evolution of Atticus in this book, was he goes from being this person that's like thinks he's like not connected to anybody and exists out of it, and then like yet a few chapters later, like yes, he has to pay his like werewolf lawyers, but like at the same time they still like go into battle with him, you know, like he has these, he has these fleeting relationships with these gods and stuff, but and but throughout all of it, Oberon, his Irish wolfhound that can speak and is obsessed with
pop culture,
most recent pop culture reference Atticus introduced him to,
or historical reference, but he wanted to be
also French poodles,
Genghis Khan.
Also French poodles,
like documentaries, right? And he becomes this person. And he fixates on it, which is adorable.
Yeah,
because you could see, I could see Bingley doing that if he could talk, like Bingley, an annoying pecker about
would
that.
Genghis Khan have done this? Maybe.
Right?
I don't think he had sausages, but yeah, going off of you two guys, I really think that the strength of this book for me was the breadth of these really interesting, memorable characters. Going back to the Casablanca, how it made me feel like a gumshoe detective novel. You think of Rick, you think of you think of the characters that he runs into in that film. There's just these eminently unique, hilarious, interesting characters that Atticus has to deal with, or learns to grow with, or goes throughout his day with. I think that's the strength of the book.
It never once felt like a drag,
Yeah.
Missy does like the relationships, and I like the stories. I like the why is this happening, what's the next step, and it did follow a next step, but it also it was not a cerebral book.
No, it was not. It was very.
When you want to plug something in, this is a great book to just plug something in and listen to it and have it just. You don't think of shit. You just listen to it like, oh, what's Atticus up to, You
throw it on a road trip, you're going to be entertained the whole time,
Oh, Elizabeth's got to eat in the morning. Like, shockingly, she does not talk very well. She is not a good conversationalist in the morning. So, like, when you're feeding her, you can throw it in and what's going on. And
well, I think I think I described it to you, Brendan. It's pulp urban fantasy. It's not like it's not like some... it's not some like, it's just it's an entertainment piece. It's not like War and Peace. It's not like some like groundbreaking piece of literature or something, but it's like good. It's entertaining. The character's fun. You want to root for him, and you have fun watching him like do shit. Like it's all about like how is he going to get out of this next pickle?
And that's what it was. Is a great way to say it. Is how does he get out of this? Because each minor
it's also like wholesome in like a weird way, even though it's not.
Yeah.
Like, it's Like, it's very cut.
Yeah, he's performing casual murder, but like it's still like wholesome in some weird way.
Well, Atticus, he kills a lot of people in this.
Yeah.
He wastes a ton of jabronis. Just
But they're all like, and that's what bothers me is they're all like these very fucking strong people, and he's like cutting them all down.
But so is he though. That's
and
the.
then he's like, wait, let me just touch some grass. Okay, fine, I'm upset. You know, like, let me take me out to touch the grass. My lungs are collapsed.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like the closest he came to dying, he was when he got shot by a mortal.
Yeah, like, but someone who.
which I would.
Which then he's like, I do think it's funny though.
Ask Ben. I was listening at work. I'm like, why don't they just send a bunch of dudes of Uzis to waste this guy? And Ben's like, just wait, just wait.
I get a kick out of it though. Like that was a poignant moment where he's sitting there and he's like bleeding and like feeling.
And then he shot me.
And then he's like, "He outside," and you're like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" Like,
there's like a fucking sliver of grass too, and he's like,
just enough grass, three blades of grass to touch my tattoos, and I'm perfect.
I've overhealed myself. Take me to the werewolf doctor.
I've overhealed myself. That's potent grass in Tempe, Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, they did. I guess they did have a little bit of Deus Ex Machina with Leaf, who could just go around rewriting people's memories whenever they fucked up.
Yep.
I think that's more why Leaf's on retainer is for the memory modification.
What's funny,
saving his ass on multiple occasions, like the fear bulg and everything.
Like the incident where he kills Briss in front of Briss or Brandon, I don't remember the name of the guy exactly. Briss. He kills him in front of the widow, and he's just like, she's British. She's like, fucking good enough for me.
All right.
But the number one biggest protagonist, the biggest problem and repeat pain in his ass is the fucking nosy neighbor. That's the one that gives him.
Keeps going.
That's the one, the only unresolved conflict.
The Lebanese dude who calls the cops on him like every day.
Every day. He gets the cops called, and that's the one. A love god who's like, it's been 2,000 years. I'm going to kill you. He's like, right, give me a minute. Shh, you're beheaded. Done. And then this old guy's like, you're doing stuff. Oh, how am I going to deal with this problem? Like, it's just funny.
Yeah. The guy doesn't like him.
Oh, is this cranky old Lebanese dude that lives next door just doesn't like him.
I just love how he buried the head in the guy's.
Yeah. The guy hates him because he doesn't own a car.
Well, he's basically just like racist and doesn't like outsiders. So he's like, man, this guy's weird. He rides a bicycle to work.
Yeah, pretty much. But
yeah,
my sister called me, and then she called Joel. So apparently, it's going to be
gotcha.
A emergency of epic proportion.
Number one, take us to Red Alert.
Yeah. What are we doing for Christmas?
I know.
What are we doing for Christmas?
Well, it's like, and I should say I'm being harsher on the book than I really feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I think it was good. I think it was fun. I think it was a lip sync book that exactly what Joel said.
I was like, for what it was, I was like, it's not some like groundbreaking piece of fantasy, but like I mean,
it's fairly popular. There's like 7 books, right? Like it keeps going. Like,
Brendan, didn't you say he released the first 4 in like less than a month?
Yeah, if you look up the release dates, he dropped. It's at least the first 3 of these books within the span of a month. He just dropped another one. So he probably just had a massive amount of front-loaded work completed, and then just rationed it out.
What I think is he probably had like the first 3 books were probably meant to be one book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then like it got split up by his publisher.
I could see that.
And this was like I think because I read it around the time it came out, right? Roughly within the few years. Mm-hmm. And so at this point, those thin, urban fantasy, those imprint books were like really popular.
Flying off the shelves, yeah.
And so it was just it was that moment in time, and it was fun, right? It was a fun time in publishing, for like these types of stories, and so it's it was good. Like, it was good and fun and cute. Like,
Yeah.
and low think.
Yeah. It was, like I said, I liked how we talked about it, Brendan, about how, like, yeah, it didn't make sense how, like, the gods, I was like, I feel like part of it was hubris and part of it was about Atticus learning to, like, sort of depend on other people. And I think that's, like,
There's going to be issues with adaptation of taking limited character development of a pantheon of deities and then giving them modern lives. There's a bit of a jump there.
Yeah.
Like, are they going to be tempered with the wisdom of centuries, or are they going to be superpowered man children? And
that was
it's like which one is it going to be? Sometimes the goalposts had to move to fit the narrative,
Well, I think like what was interesting was, like, with the Tuatha De Danann, it's established early on that, like, yes, it's not like the same as, like, the Roman pantheon, because these are people like, because the Roman pantheon exists as, like, the concept,
but
like Zeus is the concept of thunder, like he is the embodiment of thunder itself. But like Thor just, like, has power over thunder.
Right.
Or, like, like Angus Og is, like, the god of love, but he isn't, like, love incarnate. He's, like, he wields the power of love. So he's, like, this...
Not really. I mean, not really.
But essentially,
I don't know what kind of love Angus
lust.
really...
It's like the pervert... It seemed like...
I look at him like Cupid.
Yeah.
Like Cupid.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, in the Percy Jackson books, Cupid was fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Og kind of reminded me of the Purple Man. He's just kind of like, do what I want. Do what I want.
Yeah. It was more like obsession and desire that he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the thing is neat is, in a lot of, like, books, you've seen depictions of the gods. Like, Rick Riordan's really good with Percy Jackson and, Carter Hall and the Roman and Egyptian gods. And, we've seen, what other ones are there that for modern day? There's
with God.
Yeah. I mean, we see those all over and how they're like out of touch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ones that are like in the world aren't.
Mm-hmm.
And I know one of the best new Dresden books involves the god of the Fomorian. Mm. And she had no idea what the hell was going on. Like, at all. Like, the last 2,000 years, she's like, what? This is still the, 322 BC. And it was interesting to see how his characters were so disconnected and yet at the same time present, and how they were still trying to have their influence in the world.
Well, it's like interesting is because it was like Tempe like the reason it's set in Arizona, which we didn't get into, was because like
no business coming there.
Because like there's no like a lot of the gods are centered around like wildlife or like places of culture,
certain woods. Yeah.
So like the Celtic gods, they're centered around like they can show up in like groves. There ain't any ash or yew or what have you for the Fae to like walk in on. So they've got to cross a desert even once they find the ash, whatever grove of trees they need.
Yeah,
or like
and everybody knows Arizona's flush with trees.
Yeah. So it's like what you find out is like this place in Arizona is like basically a bastion of like supernatural creatures and practitioners because like
nobody
the gods
can get
aren't the only god that is here is Coyote, and
he doesn't give a
and he doesn't give a fuck. He just likes watching the world burn. He just
I do like Coyote's an interesting character. You'll see him more in the second book.
Yeah, I figure he shows up at some point.
Yeah,
that's
does.
what I like. That's what I feel like.
Funny, he's so much older than everyone else.
Yeah,
like, so much older
because Native American folklore is like 10,000 years old.
Yeah, he's so much older, and then it's like, but he's kind of portrayed as like a gaucho, like an old radio broadcast western, Yeah. But it was a good book. I think we're coming up on time. Who's pick? Yours?
Yeah, it's Melissa's turn.
All right, we've upset Melissa, so I'll go get some smutty romance book and.
No, I don't. You guys said you wanted to finish.
It's your pick.
No.
The world is your oyster. So whatever you want us to read, we're reading.
I said as your pick, you can either decide if you want to introduce another series that is going to add on to my extended reading list, or if we want to continue another series that we've already started.
It could be an issue of guideposts. It could be an oven manual. It could be Where's Waldo.
He wants the Sheathing of Pharaoh, the 4th book of Akatar. That's what he wants.
Nope.
That's dumb.
That's dumb.
It's not Pharaoh. Cassian.
Somebody's getting fucked. That's all we know.
It's Cassian and Nesta's book.
Oh, gross.
Um,
like the one character nobody gives a shit about in that book. Character sucks. We better get on her side.
I don't know. I was thinking through it. I will get back.
You have to
decide
now. You have to decide now. Pick now.
To be fair, we always pick now. So
because if you pick a 24-hour book, I need to start now.
So it depends.
Name of the Wind.
Yeah.
Still don't regret picking that book.
I was looking up there's a few that I'm between, and they're all like 10 hours.
Oh, that's
let's
perfect.
get to it.
One is like one I've never read but wanted to. The other one I've read.
Do the one you haven't read. That way we can all experience it together.
Okay.
Regret your decision.
Yeah, because last time I picked one you'd read before, so like let's do one none of us know again.
So it's gonna be Rivers of London. I don't know. I have the book back there. By Ben Aronovich.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a London name if I've ever heard one.
By what Aronovich?
Ben, as in the short for Benjamin.
Ben Aaron Ovich.
Should have picked this out.
Yeah. It is a 9-hour and 56-minute audiobook.
Perfection.
It has almost 4.5 star rating on Audible.
Okay, not bad.
7,000 ratings.
Damn.
But it's a similar thing, urban fantasy, but set in London, but police.
Yeah, this was the last one. You had me choose between this one and Poison Study. So.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
And so this one was still always in the back of my mind. I've wanted to read it. It's part of a series. I just haven't really gotten to it.
Yep. So.
Oh, I'm scared.
The one you didn't pick was called Succubus Blues. When you talked about Lost Girl, you made me think about that series, and I really enjoyed it.
And I would not have picked that book just based off of the title.
But I would say it's like that. It's adjacent.
Yeah.
Like obviously, like there is sex because it's her livelihood, but it's not. It's not. He's literally sitting on the now.
Our big dog just sat directly on top of the little dog.
In his little bed under the.
Squish.
So yeah, okay, let's do that one.
Yep. So we're ending a little early tonight, but I think that's okay. You can only spend so much time talking about a short book like this. So everyone, again, thanks for watching. Our next book is going to be Rivers of London by Ben Aronovich. We'll figure out what our topic for Nerd Talk is for next week, because we haven't talked about that at all.
Let's do Christmas Legends.
Victorian.
Ooh. Yeah, let's do Christmas Legends.
I like that. Yeah, let's do some Christmas.
What would you say?
Victorian Christmas.
Missy says Victorian Christmas ghost stories.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That falls under the umbrella. That counts.
Let's do it. Let's do Christmas ghost stories. Leaving out, of course, Christmas Carol, because if you don't know about A Christmas Carol now, just kill yourself.
We could do a Muppet Christmas Carol watch party, though. No.
I love Christmas Carol.
Michael Caine goes so hard in that movie.
I don't think that movie would have been done as well if Michael Caine hadn't just basically like dropped all,
He goes
all
hard.
in.
Oh my gosh, he goes hard in the paint.
Yeah.
He draws the foul. Like, oh my gosh.
So we'll figure out more what Victorian Christmas ghost stories means. So we'll figure that out later. But that's what we're doing next week.
I would be 5-volume book series on it. I got you.
Are you going to be the moderator for that episode?
Yes,
then,
you will.
Melissa?
Next week. I am also down for a Christmas Carol watch party, considering I absolutely love A Christmas Carol. It's one of my favorite stories.
Have you seen the Muppets one?
Fuck yeah, I have.
Okay, just making sure.
I think the majority of my...
Every year. Watch it.
Yeah, every year.
So that's our following week. Again, always catch us on Wednesdays for our normal episodes of Candlekeep Mysteries, and we'll be back again tomorrow doing that. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you again tomorrow.